Good evening, all. Dr. Jared here. Want to continue our discussion of the book, The Paleo Cardiologist, here by Dr. Jack Wolfson. We're on to chapter 5. Chapter 5 is titled One Nation Under Prozac. Now, I think that's unique because specifically, I would say there are many people who don't necessarily think about mental health and how it affects your heart, but there's a huge correlation. In fact, we're going to go through quite a few different studies, but one easy example of that would be something that everybody's experienced at some level, which is anger. And PubMed, which is the government's a website that you can go to that has government research articles on it, has over 670 different research articles on anger's effect on heart disease risk. So again, you think about mental health, and people know that there are serious issues with mental health. Right now, we see a lot of people who have increased even, let's say, tension because of the stress on what they're watching on the news and things like that. But this chapter specifically discusses not just what it affects, but more importantly, how to try and help with it, because that's the most important thing. Ultimately, nobody intends to be depressed or anxious or angry or any of those things. But if you're experiencing that, really looking at what could you do to help your body function and heal better, which is going to affect both your heart and it can affect your mental health. So the first 2 pages, and it has this big circle diagram, but it says poor nutrition and poor mental health. One thing that a lot of people don't realize is the effect of poor nutrition on the body, specifically on your hormones. So when you talk about hormones like serotonin, which is your body's feel-good hormone, refined carbohydrates, sugars, the same things that have negative effects on your heart also have negative effects on your hormones, which can affect you feeling more depressed or more anxious or more things like that. They're actually more on, as far as natural health goes, the number one thing that there's more research articles than anything else, is exercise's effect on mental health. In fact, it's many studies indicate possibly the best thing with helping with mental health that has no downsides, none of the side effects. Now, keep in mind, what I'm sharing with you today is either my opinion or most of it is directly out of the book. But a couple things that I thought were interesting. So first of all, if you talk about stress, stress is linked to increased risk of heart disease. It's increased blood pressure, pulse rate, but stress can also help to burn out your adrenal glands, which can affect things like how much energy you have. It's linked to effects on your thyroid, and really cortisol, which causes that body fat retention. So, there's a lot of things, and now everybody, you hear people say all the time, how stressed they are. But one thing that I think is unique is there's a lot of people that I talk to that are using this time with being, let's say, shelter in place. They're using it to really have lower levels of stress, simplify their life, not run all over the place, cook and eat at home, and, they're be out in nature. There's certain things that, you could really take as a blessing in disguise possibly, but lower stress levels are linked to lower rates of cardiovascular issues. The example we use most in the clinic is that heart attacks are highest the week between Christmas and New Year's. Now, that's supposed to be a time, the 8 weeks leading up to New Year's, it's supposed to be a time of family, of a lot of people's spirituality, celebrating the birth of Jesus, all these things that are supposed to be really great, but so often it's turned into less exercise, less adjustments, worse food, more parties, more running around, more stress. And they've shown that, again, heart attacks are highest the week after. And how many people do you think really meant for that to happen, yet treating their bodies poorly for, let's say, 8 weeks leading up to it from Halloween on, is something that eventually catches up with people. Another example of that would be cruise ships. There's more heart attacks on cruise ships. So how much food is there on a cruise ship? How much bad food? It's not that you have to eat those things, but how many people do when it's just an all-you-can-eat, plentiful, situation? Now, when going on to the next page, it talks about depression. So I'm not a mental health professional. I'm not here to tell you, how to how to treat your depression. But what I'm sharing from this is just things and how maybe you want to look at it more seriously, is how it affects not just one part of your life, but it affects your body as a whole. Depression People who are depressed have links to increased blood clots. People that are on antidepressants can have damage to their kidneys and other side effects with long-term use. And by damaging your kidneys, you're more likely to have higher blood pressure. And, again, there's this circle where one creates the next. And if you can get to a point where you heal from the inside out, you're just so much in chiropractic, they talk about healing from above down, inside out, letting your innate help your body to heal. But ideally what you're trying to do is address your underlying issues, whether that's eating better, exercising, seeking a mental health professional, whatever that might be, but it is really good for your health. Now, the book states that roughly 50% of all Americans state that they experience some level of anxiety when surveyed. And so one thing that I think is important with both anxiety and depression is things like sugar consumption, caffeine consumption, high levels of alcohol consumption. Those are all linked to feeling more anxious because they negatively affect your stress hormones. The same is true for anger. As I mentioned leading into this topic today, there's 670 articles in PubMed, and they link all sorts of heart-related issues to being angry, more likely to have atrial fibrillation, high blood pressure, having a heart attack, all that stuff. And if you've ever really been angry, which I'm guessing just like me, most of you have, you know what it can do to your body over time. The last thing that's discussed in this chapter is social isolation. So being by yourself and not having strong friend groups and family ties, and linked to increase heart issues. So one thing that I thought was interesting is although social media is linked to other things like cyberbullying or anxiety or levels of depression, actually for social isolation, social media is shown to be a net positive. People feel more connected when they're commenting and reading and posting about themselves. So there are some very good parts to social networking, but social isolation, this just reiterates how important it is to cultivate relationships, to build and retain relationships, to take the time to send somebody a card, send them an email, make time to go see a friend, because social isolation is linked to all sorts of health issues as well. Now, right now, you might not be able to go physically be with that person, but one cool thing that I've seen happen quite a bit is like setting up Zoom accounts, which is like a video conferencing service, and having dinner or having a drink or having just some casual time where you're looking and laughing and really being focused on that person. So social isolation is a big thing as well. Now, in the action steps part, I'm not going to read all the action steps today, but there's two that I do want to really point out that I haven't talked about yet. One is sunshine and vitamin D. So when you talk about serotonin, we're just coming out of a time where most Americans have been stuck inside due to the cold, and now they've been inside more frequently because of sheltering in place. And so being inside, not getting sunshine, inhibits your body's ability to make vitamin D. Vitamin D is essential for the making of many of the hormones, including serotonin. Interestingly enough, vitamin D and cholesterol, going back to our very first topic, are combined together to help make serotonin. So if you take a statin and you don't have enough cholesterol, or if your vitamin D is really low, you might not be able to make enough of something that you need and your body's trying to make, and therefore it could cause you to feel more depressed than you normally would. It could cause you to feel more anxious, not sleep as well. So taking a healthy vitamin D supplement, if you are inside, is very, very important. It's also shown to strengthen your immune system, which is important right now. The last thing is relaxation. I mentioned this on one other video, but there was a Pulitzer Prize or there was a very intelligent scientist I listened to on Gwyneth Paltrow's podcast, and they talked about how relaxation or guided meditation helped with your immune system, help lower your stress hormones, help you feel better. Yoga, different things that many people don't take time for, but right now you probably have more time. And so this would be a great time to build into your schedule or build into your routine. There are, there's free apps online. One that I personally use is called Headspace. It's a free app for the first 10 guided meditations, and you can play those guided meditations as many times as you want. So again, Chapter 5, One Nation Under Prozac. Hopefully this helps you just prioritize and really focus on having the best life possible. If you are a current client, as always, remember, post on here will save you a book. We just got another 100 books in the mail today, so we have lots available, and certainly want to empower you. Have an awesome day.